Hi everyone. In this chapter you will be learning basic mechanics of SubD modeling while creating a path model. And in this lesson we will create the general shape of the path. Actually we will be creating three paths in this lesson to exercise the basic mechanics of SubD modeling. We will start with this path 1 and then we will make a geometry like this path 2, and in the end we will create a geometry like this path 3, and path 3 will be our main example for the upcoming lessons. So if we were modeling this path with standard Rhino processes, we will possibly start drawing curves for this geometry. But in SubD modeling, we usually don't start with curves. We start with basic shapes. So the first thing we must consider is what's the simplest, most basic geometry for this model. As you can see, this model can be achieved by starting from a box geometry. So I will get to Rhino and then I will create a SubD box. I'm starting the SubD box command and I will be starting from 0 point. I'm drawing in centimeters. You can use whatever units you want. Dimensions will not be considered too important in this course. So you can use dimensions as you like, or you can follow my instructions. When drawing a SubD box, one of the most important things to consider is the segment counts. You can adjust segment counts from here, X count, Y count and Z count, but you must adjust them before clicking the base point for your box. So I will cancel my command and then I will restart the command and I will adjust X, Y and Z counts to 1 first. After that, I'm starting from 0 point. I'm using a width of 40 centimeters. And I'm using a depth of 30 centimeters. Then I'm using a height of 35 centimeters. As soon as I pressed enter, you see the SubD state of the geometry is too smooth to be a path. If I press tab to see the unsubD version of the geometry, we have drawn a box with no sections between border edges. So SubD can smooth all the edges until they meet each other. We want to prevent that, and in the upcoming lessons I will show you how to create edges for yourself. But in this lesson we will not be learning adding edges to our geometry. So I'm deleting this box and then I'm creating a new box with the SubD box command, and this time I'm adjusting the X, Y and Z counts to 3. Start from 0, 40 centimeters of length, 35 centimeters of width and 35 centimeters of height. As I said, dimensions are not too important for our work in this lesson, so I'm playing around different values. This time in the unsubD state of our geometry, we have drawn a box with segments inside of it. These lines are all edges. Please keep this in mind. Now SubD can only round these sharp edges till the next edge. So we have a geometry like this, and the point we want to go is this shape. My geometry is a little bit narrow than this path, and upper side is narrower than the bottom side of this path. We can do these adjustments by playing our vertices. In SubD mode, I'm selecting my box and playing with the geometry using my gumball and trying to get the general proportions right. When I'm happy with the general proportions of the model, I will try to adjust smoothings at the edges. Right now, these smoothing amounts are too much for my model. To keep the smoothings to a minimal, I need to squeeze these rounding edges with other edges. And now we have these sections, these edge loops here. So I can use select loop command, and for example I can select the upper edge loop in the middle, and then using gumball I can push these edges in near position to the top edge, and by doing this I can accomplish a more tight rounding on the upper side. We can do this to the bottom side too. So I will choose this loop again. To choose this edge loop, I will not use select edge loop tool. There is a shortcut for this. As you know, you can select a edge with shift control plus left click. If you do this with double click, Rhino will select the loop of the ticked edge. So shift control double click, I have selected the loop, and then I am pushing this loop down to the bottom edge. Doing these movements, I have accomplished a shape like this, as you can see, and it becomes to look like our path. Now we can make the top side narrower or bottom side wider. I'm getting to the SubD state. I'm selecting vertices. I'm selecting all the vertices on the top side. You can do this with selecting edges or surfaces too, but in my opinion selecting vertices is much more simple and much more strict way of doing this. So I have selected the upper vertices, and with the help of my gumball I'm scaling them down. The main geometry we are drawing is very primitive, is very edgy, but when SubD smooths it out, we have a quite nice smooth geometry. So I will do something like this. You can see the picture at the right and see Rhino at the left, and then we can play our vertices until we are happy with the result we are getting for our model. For example, I'm getting back vertices further back in the depth. My geometry started to look like our path. I will not try to accomplish the exact shape because at this moment of our course we don't have enough knowledge to accomplish the form of this path. I'm drawing this path just to show you the basic approach in SubD modeling. I'm creating a new layer named samples, and I'm getting this geometry, this model, to this layer, and I'm hiding it. Our second path is this. This is like the reverse of the first path, so we can start again from a box, SubD box 2 for this model. I'm getting SubD command counts at 3, x, y and z counts at 3, 0, start from 0 point with a width of, with a length of 50 centimeters, sorry, 30 depth and 35 height. A similar box we are starting with, but this time smoothing is quite continuous in this model. So maybe this horizontal edge will not be too close to the top edge, but bottom edge is, as you can see, not so smooth. So the edge loop on the bottom is needs to be near to the, close to the bottom edge. Right now I have a shape like this, and then while keeping this edge here, I will make the top side narrower. So I'm getting vertex selection, and I'm choosing all the top vertices, and I'm scaling them down. You see the geometry I'm drawing in non-SubD mode, but if I get to the SubD, you are seeing the smoothing on a very wide area. Top side doesn't look bad right now. I need a narrower bottom, so I'm selecting bottom sides, bottom vertices. Keep in mind that I haven't selected top vertices like this because I need to keep the vertices in the middle where they are. So when I get the top vertices to a narrower state, this curve can be created. But at the bottom, I don't need a wide smoothing at the bottom, so I'm getting both the edge vertices and both the second to bottom edge vertices and scaling them down together. You are seeing the general shape of my primitive geometry. And when we get to the SubD state, we have a geometry like this, and it started to look quite like our path. My model is a little bit too high. Again, I'm gonna place the picture here and place Rhino here, and I will work by seeing the model. And I'm getting the top vertices down, or if I'm happy with the height, it was 35 centimeters. A 20 centimeter height will be too low for a path. So I can get the back vertices and push them further. And I can get half right side of vertices and get them wider. This will give me a more lookalike geometry to our picture. Now, if I select the loop, edge loop in the middle, and if I play with its width, you can see that I can change the shape as I like. This is a little bit exaggerated. Yes. Maybe we can take this loop a little bit higher so the general shape looks more like our path. As you can see, the main principle of SubD modeling is selecting and pushing our vertices to get the shape we like. I will keep this model at this state and I will get it to the samples layer too. So let's get to the main path sample for our course. To be able to create this form, in this lesson our current knowledge will not be enough. We will get as close as we can. Of course, starting with the box isn't too logical this time. So I'm starting with a cylinder, SubD cylinder command. I'm clicking SubD cylinder command, and in the SubD cylinder command there are settings for faces. Let's have a quick look at what SubD cylinder draws. You see the model, you see the unsubD state of the model. In SubD cylinder command, you need to state how many sides you will be using for the SubD and how many faces you will be using in the cap surfaces. I'm deleting this and starting the SubD cylinder command again. I will be using an octagon and 8-faced cylinder. So vertical round faces are 8. Vertical faces are the sections in the vertical direction. I will keep them in 3 right now. Or maybe we can need more vertical sections in here. So let's try 5. I'm clicking starting from 0 point. I'm giving a radius of 20 centimeters and I'm giving a height of 45 centimeters. As you can see, we have drawn a 8-sided polygon with triangular capping geometries. If we have a look at the SubD state of this geometry, we have a path looking quite quite look-alike path looking geometry, but we need to tighten this smoothing, tighten the bottom smoothing, and we need to create this transition from the larger part to narrower part. Because of this transition, I foreseen we will need more horizontal lines than before. So we have created 5 sections in the horizontal. Let's select this loop, open SubD state, and push it upwards until we are happy with the smoothing. Select the bottom loop, have a look at the picture, push the loop, open SubD view, open SubD state, and push the loop until we are happy with the smoothing. So what will we do with the middle sections? I will get them close together in the middle, or where I think the transaction will happen. Maybe a little bit down, further down. And now I need to make the bottom part of the path narrower than the upper part. So I'm getting to select vertices, and I'm selecting all the vertices at the bottom part. Then I'm scaling them down with the help of gumball. You can use classic scale tools, for example Scale 2D. You can use the scaling base point as this vertex, and then like this you can work with classic Rhino tools as well, but using gumball is more practical most of the time. When I make this narrower and I switch to the SubD view, you can see the transition is too smooth for my liking and for the model we are aiming to achieve. But for this lesson, getting this geometry to this point is enough for us. In the next lesson, we will be learning creating new edges, and by creating new edges, tightening these transactions. See you at the next lesson.